I guess I've put the manifold in and hand tightened the bolts. There's a specific pattern to fasten them all the way, and they are going to 18 Newton meters. The pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back in, 8, under the EGR, 9, and 10. So going around again, 1, and this is not yet tight all the way, 2, 3. So on the passenger side, the air intake manifold tightening pattern is, this is bolt 11 because we had 10 on the driver's side. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and that's 19. They're hand tight. And I'll torque them next, probably in 2 rounds or so. Turbo pedestal bolts go to 20 Newton meters. I've already hand tightened. right, so a lot of it is put back together. We have these new screw tighten clamps on the fuel filter. And there's one here too. And there's one here. It's not yet tight. A lot of the connectors, glow plugs, connectors put back in place. Fuel rails are back, but these are not yet tightened. EGR valve is still loose because couldn't get to the clip back there. And with the valve out, it's easier to get to. The fuel filter obviously is back in there. A lot of the cables, it was actually quite obvious where they went, so it wasn't too hard. Actually, easier than expected to plug things back in. On this side, I've reinstalled the return lines and the plugs from the harness. So there's still the turbocharger reinstallation to do. That's the main part, and then putting that mixer body back on there and tightening up a lot of bolts here. All right, I'm reinstalling the throttle intake body EGR mixer, this piece. There is a sensor that goes at the bottom here. You can see it there, plugged in there. I did put a new seal on that sensor, came with the kit. Then there's a wire here to plug in this guy, and that guy. This guy was difficult to get back in. I actually had to use a C-clamp to push it in so that I would actually click and hold. It's just hand tighten right now, and I've only put one bolt, so I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts in and tighten it up to torque specs. The exhaust bolts tighten to 20 Newton meters, but I'm going to take a little bit off because of the anti-seize compound. Probably bring it to about 17 or so. These 6, most of the exhaust, if not all the exhaust bolts, according to the WIS manual, get tightened to 20. So we'll tighten these up. So with an endoscope camera, the camera is pointing down there. It's actually looking at where the bolt's supposed to go. I can keep an eye on that. While I'm trying to get that bolt in there attached to this, I'll just have to figure out how to get the wire off once the bolt's in. I was able to get the little guiding wire out with a plier, so I'm going to tighten these now to 20 Newton meters. And these are the ones that mount to the crankcase. Okay, next are the T45s that mount to the oil feed pedestal. Driver's side one. So there's a stage 2 of torquing on these exhaust flange bolts, and that's 90 degrees. So that's a quarter of a circle, 90 degrees this way. And this is after we've torqued him to 20 Newton meters. I torqued him a little less because of the anti-seize. Hopefully this will all still be more or less correct. So I'll be doing that to these 6 bolts now. I'm going to reinstall this little pipe next, this bent pipe. It's got new gaskets on it. It's a little hard to see, but the more copper looking side goes on the exhaust, and this side mounts to the turbo side. I think this little piece actually routes air toward the EGR. So that goes in there. I'm going to try to just set this in there right now. So this was not real easy because the gaskets don't clip on, so I had to leave the screws partially in, just a little bit. But I was able to get it just a little bit tightened that way. And now I'll go ahead and tighten it further. All right, so these bolts that go into the EGR, these go to 13 Newton meters, and these here go to 10 plus a 90-degree turn, stage 2. And this guy in the front goes to 9 Newton meters. That's all done. All right, installing this guy is just a little bit tricky. It's kind of tapered at this end, and it has to be put in at this end first, otherwise it won't align here. So put it in here, just set it in here, and then move the bolts in, but you gotta have had these bolts in here already a little bit to hold the gasket in. So I moved it, moved the whole piece in here with these bolts just in there far enough just to hold the gasket, and try to push that in without dropping it all. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. This side didn't have a gasket. As I mentioned, it's tapered a little bit, and then you have to install this on there so that it ends up facing this way. So just push this like that. And turn it. Turn it into. I ended up turning this guy around so the bolt's over here. I don't believe it matters. This is easy to do. Tighten this way. Screwed it in part way. This is a 14 millimeter right here. I haven't yet put the third bolt in this guy, and that's going to involve just putting the bolt at the end of this and then trying to guide it in here while it's on there. There is a dent on the other side as well, so you can use that to guide it. So putting that third bolt in involves just guiding it in with this. Try not to have it fall off, and it's got an indent just like on the top, so you can use that to guide it. So I'm going to try to guide it in place with this. Right, this green seal actually goes here. I don't believe it was there when I took things apart. So this is the tube that goes from the turbocharger to the intercooler. That connector there goes to the intercooler hose. I'll go ahead and put this piece in right now, and then it's almost done. The original seal had been over tightened. These tabs were completely missing, and the plastic cracked a little, so it's got the new seal. Try to tighten it just right when I put this guy on. All right, let's see what happens. Try to start it. And I'll try 10-second start 3 times. It will take a while to get started since all the fuel was out in the rails and everything. So that's one start, 10 seconds. I'll wait a few minutes in between, 3 of those for a total of 30 seconds. And then I'll wait an hour to do 3 10-second starts again. So we've done one. All right, it started up. So the coolant is low, that's to be expected. But otherwise seems to be running quite well.